Well, the holiday shopping season is well underway. Consumers are expected to spend more than $1 trillion in retail sales in November and December for the first time ever. That's a gain of around 4% from last year. That's according to NRF's annual holiday forecast. And joining us right now is Matthew Shay. He is National Retail Federation's president and CEO. And Matt, thank you for being here today. This increase in spending that we're seeing, is this a sign of consumer confidence or a sign of rising inflation?
Yeah, Becky, good morning. I think it's a sign of consumer confidence. And I say that knowing that the next question is going to be from you or Andrew. How can that possibly be when we see what the confidence numbers look like? And I think what we know from history, especially the last 5 years since the pandemic, is that consumers are really able to do two things at once. They can have very low attitudes about the economy, and yet their actions continue to demonstrate that they're engaged in commerce. And especially, I think, when it comes to the holiday season, all of our survey work and all of the data that we produced in our forecasts indicates that consumers work very, very hard to protect themselves and their families for the holidays. They want to have a bit of a moat around this time of year so they can make those kinds of investments. And the ways in which they're doing that, of course, is they're looking for value, they're trying to find convenience, and they're reducing savings. In some cases, they're taking on more debt, but they really want to protect holiday spend. And I think that's really what we're seeing. And on the inflation numbers, with the exception of the last couple of months, the trend line has been on goods inflation down, almost flat, and even food, with a few category exceptions, has been about 1%. So I think there's real growth in there, and we're seeing consumers really behave positively, hence the record number for the forecast and also for this Thanksgiving weekend.
Can we go back? We just had a chart up while you were talking, and I was trying to read it from across the room. It looked like spending is actually expected to be a little down from what it was last year, at least on a per-person spending on gifts, foods, decorations, and other season goods. What is it, 800 and... Can't read that far across the room.
Yeah,
$890 versus 902.
Yeah, 902 last year, 890 this year. I think that's
but the consumer spending overall is up 4%. Is that because there's more people spending? I don't understand the number differential.
Yeah, the difference is that this is the chart you've got up there now is a survey of consumers, asking them their attitudes from about 6 weeks ago. And our forecast of the 4.2% growth, 3.7 to 4.2, which is $1 trillion, is our economic forecast, which we've done for 20 years. You all have reported on it. Leisman has reported on it many, many times. Last year, that produced 4.3% growth. This year, that's our forecast, as opposed to what consumers tell us. And we know frequently, again, to the comment a minute ago, they tell us one thing, but they do something else. Sure. So they may say they're going to spend slightly less this year, but when they get out on these big weekends like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, Super Saturday, the big Saturday before the Christmas holiday, they tend to spend more than they told us they were going to spend.
The survey was done 6 weeks ago. Was that as the government shutdown was starting? That ran more than 4 weeks. We're 2 weeks out. So I'm guessing maybe we were in the government shutdown when you were asking people what they were planning to spend? Yeah,
I think there's been a lot of noise in the data because of the length of the government shutdown, and the survey of consumers, of course, is about their attitudes at that moment in time, that snapshot, whereas the forecast that we released on November 6th, which projects the 3.7, 4.2%, $1 trillion in sales growth, that's been very consistent over time, and that takes into consideration about 20 different macroeconomic indicators that then we put into the formula, and that's produced results that over time have been very, very reliable predictors of what actually happens in the economy.
We just got retail sales numbers yesterday. They were weaker than had been anticipated, but these numbers are old. They're from September. And, you know, a little outdated, I guess I would say. You've got a lot of retail constituents, obviously, and I just wonder what you're hearing from them, what you think the real retail mood is at this moment.
Well, I guess, Becky, I'd say two things. One, the CNBC NRF retail monitor that Steve Leisman talks about with you every month for the month of October was very positive, showed consumers got back engaged, were out engaged in commerce in the month of October. And I think what we've heard, we've had a lot of earnings calls over the last 2 weeks from retailers. We heard some just yesterday that were generally very, very positive in the face of what's been happening in the economy, the uncertainty, the on-again, off-again tariffs, the government shutdown. And the word that we have used a lot, and lots of commentators and analysts have used, is the word resilient. And I was thinking about that this morning, and we've all heard it, we've all said it, but if you think about it for a minute, resilience means the ability to deal with adversity in a constructive way. And I think if you look at consumers and think about what consumers have been dealing with all year, and businesses too, retailers especially, there's been adversity, there's been uncertainty, there's been a lack of predictability, there's been some volatility. And yet throughout that, the trend line has been consumers play a greater and greater role in our economic activity, contributing to GDP. And so while we've got inflation still not necessarily where we want it, but wages are slightly ahead of inflation, so there's real spending and purchasing power there. We see consumers behaving in a way that they want to protect the holiday season for themselves and their family. The jobs market gets talked about a lot, but historically, we're in a good place. So the indicators, the fundamentals are there, we think, for a very solid, healthy holiday season, and we're right in the middle of it, and this is the big weekend we kick it off.